Hello, my name is Nicholas Tompkins. I'm a secondary education mathematics student at Grand Valley State University. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play the game Guess My Rule. Guess My Rule is a game for any number of players where the goal is for players to guess an operator, a function, or a rule based on a variety of inputs and outputs. The objective of the game is to guess a certain mathematical rule given various inputs and outputs. The guessing group can ask questions about new inputs until they can determine the rule. The game is very versatile and can be used in a variety of subjects such as calculus, algebra, trigonometry, geometry, even down all the way to younger students in kindergarten, first grade. Along with that, the nice part about Guess My Rule is that it requires very minimal resources. You'll need some form of recording sheet along with a calculator or calculator application such as Desmos. Now, for the setup. To start the game, one person or a group will create some form of rule. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to start off with using the example of Guess My Rule for functions. Now, you'll start off with someone creates a function. For instance, I'm going to use the function 2x plus 2. That isn't going to be revealed to everybody else in the game. That is going to be kept to myself. We'll start off with the guessing group giving one or two inputs, and then we will give the outputs for them. So, for instance, if I have the function 2x plus 2 and I'm given the inputs 2 and 4, my outputs for that would be 6 and 10. Now, we can have students work together in either groups or in an individual setting to figure out the function. And this will be done by asking a variety of questions about the function's input, and we will be giving them outputs. Before they can guess the function, though, players must correctly predict an output. So, for example, if I have, we'll say we'll get the function 2x plus 2. If I have a player who thinks that they've figured out the function, they will have to say, I think for the input 5, it will have the output 12. If that is correct, and then they can guess the function, which would be 2x plus 2. So we can go through a quick example of how this would work in a bit more of a practical setting. So I have a function, and let's say, for instance, the guessing group asks for the input 1. The output for my function is 6. They'd write this down, possibly start coming up with some variations of what they think the function might be. Next, they ask what the output is for the input 4, and I tell them that it's 33. In this instance, players would likely guess this is not a linear function. This function, I will say, has all integers. Next, they ask for the input, what the output is for the input 2, which I tell them is 11. And now at this point, a good strategy might be, since you know that this is not a linear function, to try and guess what the 0 is so you can see if it has any constant values in it. So you could guess 0 and get the output 5. With this, you'd likely be able to guess what the function is or be able to work out what the function is. Or in a classroom setting or in a larger group setting, you might have to ask a couple more questions. But to you, the audience, what's the function? Now, as I'd mentioned earlier, Guess My Rule is an extremely versatile game that can be played with a variety of subjects. Another common variation, instead of using inputs and outputs with functions, you have groups and shapes. So, for instance, I could have two groups, one for three-sided shapes and one for non-three-sided shapes, and players would guess shapes to see which group they go into until they could determine what the rules are for the groups, or what my group is, or what my general rule is going to be. For example, I could have a rule where what gets allowed into group A is three-sided shapes. Everything else goes into group B. Players would then guess different shapes to see what goes into group A and what goes into group B until they can determine what the rule is for group A. So, let's go through a little example. I have a rule, and I'm going to give a couple of shapes as some possible shapes that players might guess. If you guess an oval, that would go into group A. The second shape is a rectangle, which would go into group B. Players would guess a parallelogram, and that goes into group A. A right triangle would go into group B, along with a square. Now, this is when players might be able to ask the question, or may be able to answer the question, what is the rule? And now I'll propose that same question to you. What's the rule? And that is how to play Guess My Rule. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope this is a game that you can play with maybe some of your friends or even in a classroom setting. Have a good one.